Stop the cap.
Motherfucker, black fatigue. They try to see white folks try to Jedi mind trick niggas, and they good at it too. Yeah. Cause they tell niggas, and niggas like to run with shit. The white man say, white man be like, oh, that sound like victim mentality, and then here go these bitch ass niggas. Yeah, that sound like victim mentality. Bitch ass nigga, y'all been victimizing me for 500 years, nigga. Why shouldn't I have a victim mentality? You expect me to have an assailant's mentality?
Right.
Nigga, every nigga in America wake up playing defense. We ain't never on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Why not though? Because what I was gonna say is you don't fault the black people that have money for not rallying around and gathering everybody
you can't fault them because them niggas got that money and them niggas made a deal to be suckers and tricks and tools. Them niggas ain't got the right to do a bitch ass thing for your broke ass bitch ass nigga. Who the fuck is you? Nigga, that's not why we give you money. We give you money to keep these niggas chasing a fallacy that if you did it, they can do it. Or when these niggas go to acting up, we march your bitch ass out in front of these niggas and you tell them to sit they bitch ass down somewhere. What the fuck is y'all doing? Nigga, look how good we got it. Nigga, look how good the white man been to us. Bitch ass nigga, y'all fucking up my money. That's why them niggas got money, man. Them niggas ain't got money to help you, nigga. And the day that they choose to really do something for your black ass, watch what happen.
So would you say that them black people are just as bad as white supremacists?
They right there with them. Honorary whiteness is a real disease amongst niggas.
So I'm listening to Neferkari addressing the whole discussion, the panel that he had, the short clip that he had that Austin, Hallman put out about the way that black men interact on his videos. And you can see it if you go over to his page, his videos that talk about Brazil. And you'd have to really, because he's been in Africa for quite some time, but his videos that talk about Brazil versus his videos, in Africa, way less views. A lot of FBA men had a lot of fantasies about Brazil and Latin America and, ideas of how feminine and cooperative and beautiful the women were, in trying to get away from the black matriarchy. There's definitely colorism in there. There's definitely aspects of self-hatred in there. And then there's the aspects of the real world problems that FBA black men have with black women. And this actually transcends just the United States. This is where I got to disagree with Neferkari because he's speaking on a beginning that he wasn't here for. So there's a lot of things that he said in this video that are incorrect. Like, for example, one of the biggest voices in the manosphere was Thug Titian, and Thug Titian is from the UK. I don't know what Caribbean background he has. I think he's Jamaican. But I remember when he was like, I have unbroken lineage, because he was pro-black, but he couldn't stand black women. And then it was pointed out, because Thug Titian, that was the first time, we ever, interacted with guys across the pond. And then there was some other people, that came into the room. Wayne Riley is another one that got into the discussion. And, they were pointing out, they said, hey, look, over here in the UK, you saw this with BK Chat. You saw this with the black ginger dude who snapped, was talking, was screaming about, what he couldn't stand about black women. And it was pointed out that a lot of the mindset that a lot of the black women in the UK have, it does come from the mindset that FBA women have. Like, it's spilled over there. It's like contaminated over there because FBA women are the, number one black women in the world. They basically set the tone and set the pace. And people who don't get, caught up in, their own arrogance, they recognize that the media machine, for black people the world over is coming out of America, whether it's the music, whether it's the movies, it's coming out of, America. Like even with Idris Elba comes to America, gets rid of his British accent, and then plays essentially nothing but, you know, African American roles. Like we don't like it took for us forever to discover that Idris Elba had a British accent. We never heard Idris Elba for a long time use his own voice. He was using an FBA accent. I mean, it sounded, slightly more sophisticated than your average American talks, Black American talks. But yeah, that's not how the way that Idris Elba sounds in real life is not the way he sounds when he's doing movies like Pacific Rim. So, the reason why the relationships are so important, and I don't know why everybody tries to ignore this, is because the family unit is the fundamental unit of any given community. If you have relationship problems, then you can pretty much hang it up about, building nations or, fixing the community. If you have relationship problems, you can hang it up. I mean, the white community is going through this right now with their birth rates on the floor, and y'all seen the chart where the white men are more conservative and the white women are more liberal. Okay, that means that, they're not developing relationships. There's white guys now that are saying that they're liberal when they're really not on their dating profile, just so that they can get their foot in the door, and then I guess hope that they can finagle their way into a relationship with a woman, even though they don't agree with her beliefs. There's liberal white women that they say, oh, I want this LGBTQ super progressive man, and then they don't like the fact that he's not traditional in the ways that she wants him to be traditional. It's the same problem that exists in the Black community, where they want the man to pay for everything, but then when it comes to male leadership, they're like, oh no, that's oppression. But they expect him to pay for everything, open car doors, take him out on trips and vacations, all at his expense. But they don't want to have to play their role. Bringing him a sandwich is oppression. Rubbing his shoulders is oppression. I don't know, doing his laundry is oppression. I mean, just all the stuff that you would consider, traditionally the roles that women play, it's all oppression. But when it comes to men have to basically lock into the very system that women and feminists like to jump up and say, was a system of archaic oppression, right? And one of the things that I find irritating in these discussions is, number one, the dismissive nature of voices like Neferkari when it comes to it, like, oh, we're so pro-Black over here, we don't have these problems over here, blah, blah, blah. Motherfucker, you're Haitian. You're Haitian. Your people did not go through redlining, blockbusting, Jim Crow, eminent domain, urban renewal, convict leasing, debt peonage, COINTELPRO, CIA, Iran, Contras, all that shit. Your people didn't go through that. You know what I'm saying? Basically, you just got here. And that onslaught of what African Americans have had to go through, what FBAs have had to go through, has affected Black people's relationship. It's one thing. See, the thing is, what black people don't understand, and they live in these all Black countries, they see Black judges, Black police officers. If there's corruption, it's Black. Like, the white man is way in the back in the shadows. But in America, the white men seemingly, when you look outside, they control everything. The police, the court systems, right? The government, they control everything. Then when you see what success looks like, success is almost invariably white. Now, that may be the case in these other Black countries when it comes to, like, we seeing white people on vacation and everything. But the thing is it's not in your face 24/7. It's in Black people's face 24/7. And there's an aspect of black women that I do understand. Again, we can call it the myth of white womanhood. BGSI be more talked about this, with the white women, like black women, they're like, well, why can't I have what the white woman has? And then looks at the black man like, oh, you black men, oh, you're weak. It doesn't matter that black men had Black Wall Street. It doesn't matter that we had, thriving black communities and Black Bottom and, all these business districts that were thriving. Doesn't matter because we weren't able to defend it. If whether we didn't have the firepower or whether, we weren't organized or whether we were grossly outnumbered, it doesn't matter. They got destroyed. And you now have subsequent generations. They don't know anything like that. I don't know anything like that. I don't know what it's like to be in a black neighborhood and have black businesses on either side of the street. Black pharmacy on the corner and, a black tailor, on the main strip or something like that. And, a black grocery store and all that. I don't know what that's like. You got to talk to the boomers, when it comes to that. And I'm saying it was fading, back when they were coming up, it was disappearing, because you had, eminent domain and urban renewal and the 1954 Federal Highway Commission Act that bulldozed a lot of these areas, that eliminated communities like Central Ave in Tampa, ran highways through communities like, Raleigh and Durham and I-375 in Detroit, which was Black Bottom, ran a highway through it. The highway doesn't even go that far. It's like they just decided, yeah, we're gonna build a highway here for no reason other than to destroy the black business districts. That's why when it comes to America and white people complaining about, oh, how fucked up the black community is and screaming 1350, I'm like, that's what the fuck y'all deserve. America has the black people it deserves. They did everything in their power to undermine the black community since the fucking end of slavery. And they're surprised that they got to deal with niggas and they got to deal with YNs and they got to deal with motherfuckers running around cars. They're surprised. You're surprised at the shit. That drives me nuts. You know what I mean? But I feel the same way. Like, it's like when it comes to Myron Gaines and Fresh and Fit and everything, what is it? Fit is from, or Myron, right, is from Sudan, North Sudan, right? And they see themselves as Arabs, right? They're Muslim. Then you got Fresh, who's from what? Barbados, right? Like none of all these guys, these tethers came in on the grift of the problems that FBAs were having with their women. They came in on the grift, to make money. So, the rhetoric, any type of rhetoric that tethers somehow are more pro-black or they're not on it or whatever faction, Neferkari, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. Y'all came in and further disrupted and further undermined the conversation. Not Neferkari specifically, but I'm saying what pisses me off is just like with Neferkari and who's the Afro think tank, right? Is they ignore these problems. I had the same issue with because we got factions like this within the black community. I had this problem with Mr. Hollipsism. Y'all motherfuckers want to be so pro-black that you actually ignore the real problems. You ignore the crumbling foundation. You ignore that shit. Even if you want to say you want to take on a Pan-Africanist approach, there's real problems here. Okay? The bottom line is that, black men have been dominated by this system of white supremacy. Black women look around and they say, y'all niggas don't control anything. Y'all have no power. We want the lifestyle that's going on with white folks, right? That's what they're saying. Okay? We don't respect your leadership because you all have failed collectively, the planet over. Okay, you can talk all this shit about Pan-Africanism, but the reality is your current situation is you have no power. Okay, Haiti is a shit show. Okay? Many countries in Africa are a shit show, right? The men are getting on boats and drowning in the Mediterranean because they're trying to fucking flee. So when you run around and you have this fantasy of Wakanda about Pan-Africanism, you know, the fact of the matter is what it really amounts to most of the time is just talking. You're not the first Pan-Africanist. You're not. Stokely Carmichael, who changed his name to what, Kwame Ture, you know, was a Pan-Africanist before you were even born. And he was FBA. You know, and again, you know, these problems, like example, even recently with Afro Think Tank, and I'll give him credit because number one, I went over his page and I called him out because he made a video. He was always shitting on FBAs for, oh, y'all anti-Pan-Africanists, oh, y'all this, y'all that, and we should be forming Voltron, that we should be forming Voltron. But you guys keep discussing a Pan-Africanism that doesn't exist. The Africans don't fuck with us like that. They don't. They've been coming into America, disrespecting, being the freaking model minority, pet Negro, right behind the fucking Chinese. Okay? You know, and again, they're chosen and allowed in the country on the basis of their docility, on the basis that they don't have any racial animosity towards white folks. That's why freaking Patrice or freaking Ari Spears went up and made that joke, you know, talking about the Africans and everything. Oh, the white men. You know what I mean? Like the ass kissing. That's like, yo, do you not recognize what these people have done to us or done to you? I had this problem in the Caribbean. I've been to the Caribbean. I had this problem, you know, in the Caribbean. You know what I mean? They drowning in white Jesus. They don't have any fucking like racial in them. I'm like, do you really understand like what's going on? Like you feel like Killmonger up in that bitch. You know, where you got freaking isolationist T'Challa over there in Wakanda, you know what I mean? And just act like, oh, we're not going to do anything and whatnot. Like one of the islands that I went to in particular, they had a gang problem on the island. And you got to think about how stupid to have a gang problem is on the fucking island, because the island is basically like a fucking circle. And so the way that the gangs functioned was like, if you were a gang, let's say you were at 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock, that was your territory, right? If you wanted to get to 3 o'clock, right? If there was another gang at 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, you couldn't go around the island from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. You had to go backwards and go from 7 to 6 o'clock and then go back and then go through your territory to 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock. And if you wanted to go back, you couldn't go, you know, towards 2 o'clock through 1 o'clock and 12 o'clock on the island. You couldn't go in that direction. So there was like a section of the island that you couldn't go through. I'm like, nigga, it's a fucking circle, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this shit was retarded. And that's what was going on, you know, in the islands. I'm like, this is insane. You know, but what was I about to say about hold on, it's come to me. I lost my train of thought. But I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, the island, the Caribbean blacks in the islands, they have no real sense of like racial injustice. They have no real concept of, you know, I'm like, you're a descendant of slaves. You were brought here and put on these fucking islands, and you have limited raw materials. One of the things that they were dealing with when I was in the Caribbean is they were dealing with a brain drain. They were trying to figure out how to keep people on the island. I'm like, you got no economic opportunities for these young men. And then when it came to the gangs that were on the island, because if y'all don't know, when it comes to the islands, you know where they get their guns from? They get their guns from St. Thomas, because St. Thomas is a U.S. territory or something like that. And so St. Thomas actually has guns. So they'll go and they'll take their little boats and they'll go to St. Thomas and then get the guns, or Puerto Rico, and then go back to their islands and shit. You know what I mean? So that's where they're getting a lot of the guns from. On top of the fact that they're that their what do you want to call it? Their Coast Guard is shit. Their Coast Guard is absolute shit. At nighttime, they got the little tiny boats. You can't see shit at nighttime. And there's so many like the little, the fishers and whatnot that they go out there. And what's so crazy is, just on a side note, lobster, the shit that people pay for lobster here is just insane. You know what I mean? You'll get the old men, they'll go out there with their crab, their lobster traps and everything. They'll pull that shit up in the morning, and then at lunchtime they'll be cooking that lobster up, and you be paying like, I don't know, fucking, like $12 for some lobster, $9 for some lobster. Depending on where you at. And yes, if you're an American, you do get fuckboy fees. So, it's probably cheaper for that than the locals. You know what I mean? But what used to get me is like when you would go to the restaurants that like, I'm like, how are you in the Caribbean and all the seafood is expensive as fuck? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like y'all, you got nothing but seafood around you. But yet if you try to buy seafood in the islands, it's expensive as fuck for no reason. Again, the white resorts coming through and being the only industries on the island. You know what I mean? Like they basically dictate the terms of the island. They have so much power, it's not even funny. The tourism sector, they have so much power because there's nothing else. There's no manufacturing base. There's nothing else there. And then they wonder why they got a gang problem with young men. But anyway, yeah, Afro Think Tank, he was talking about Joy Reid, who apparently either her or her team got his video flagged, where he put the snippet of her video in his video and it got flagged, and I guess he got a strike. Not a stripe. He said, I got a stripe. No, strike. So he got a strike on his page and for copyright infringement. And I'm like, oh, your page got a strike from a Congolese woman. Oh, where's the Pan-Africanism in that? You know what I mean? Like, again, these people, like, they're not sharing this. They want to be the center of attention. They're not sharing the space with you, even if they're ingratiating in American culture. No, they want to be that nigga. They want to be that one. They want to be the Negro whisperer. You know what I mean? They don't care about you actually addressing your own problems. No, they're in it for the bag. They're in it for white zaddy to pay them to be the Negro whisperer, to give them all the DNC talking points that really do not empower black people. That's what they're here for. And then the other thing, and I'll give Afro Think Tank some credit because he put up the video. I know he don't like guns for whatever reason. A lot of black people, they don't like guns. They grew up in the hood. The only people they saw with guns, and he's made a video talking about, don't get your guns off the block. I'm like, where do y'all even get that? Get the guns off the block. That's why I try to get young men to get themselves into the Second Amendment when they're 21 as soon as possible before they get jammed up. Because a lot of times they get jammed up and they catch these felonies because they're running around with an illegal firearm, which is unlawful possession, is a Class D felony in most states. Now you have a constitutional carry, but even still, I'm like, y'all need to get your license and all that shit. Make sure you're covered. That's my attitude. But it was never on the table to go and get you an illegal firearm and carry that around and whatnot. But it makes no sense. And this is what I've noticed about the Pan-Africanist. It makes or not even the Pan-Africanist, just the Hotepi pro-black dudes. They never about that self-defense. You know what I mean? I used to question that about Nation of Islam. I'm like, how come you don't advocate for these young black men to be able to protect themselves if you're running around and talking about how racist America is and how the white supremacists are running around foaming at the mouth? How come the black community doesn't take a greater defensive position, right? Like you look at the history, you look at how the black communities were purged and shit like that. Why don't you take a greater defensive, position? Why don't you tell the Democrats to at least take gun control off the table? Right? Because we want to be able to defend ourselves as opposed to being out there with nothing but our asses. Right? And it was always funny to me. And to me, I'm like, yeah, that's because a lot of these people are double agents and they fucking work, for the DNC. There's money being exchanged behind the scene that's only going to those individuals. It's not going to the community because they're meant to be Negro whisperers to distract the community and get the community on, to take a less aggressive position, when it comes to our empowerment or when it comes to our defense. Oh no, we don't want to do that. Oh no, that'll draw the ire of the ATF, or oh no, that'll draw the ire of this, that, third. Then on top of that, you got individuals, older individuals, what I'm saying, that especially within the Nation of Islam, them older cats, they already got jammed up. They already got felonies from like the 1970s and the 1960s. They can't carry. Not saying that they don't, but they can't legally carry. And I do think that there's, some aspect of, I don't know what you want to call it, jealousy or resentment or trying to maintain rank where, the old guys don't really want the young guys to have that type of firepower. That's just my speculation, but they don't like that. The older guys don't like that, and it's something that they're not used to because they're from a generation, where basically, only because they're, again, concealed carry didn't pop up until 1986. Okay, after Luby's Cafe, the Luby Cafe massacre, I think that was in Texas. So, no, was it in Texas or was it in Florida? Because I think Florida was the first state. I think Luby's Cafe was in Texas, but the Florida was the first state to actually have concealed carry. And then all the other states have opened up. And now we got over 50% of the states in the United States that are constitutional carry. I'm not a big fan of constitutional carry. I'm not a big fan of open carry. I think open carry is tactically stupid. I think constitutional carry, only problem I have is if you, some people don't believe that you should get a permission slip from the government, but if you don't, if you're the type that you're too lazy to get the training, you're too lazy to get the paperwork, then maybe carrying a concealed weapon is not for you. You know what I mean? That's just my sentiment. That's just my attitude when it comes to the situation. What else is there? I'm trying to think what else is there. The other thing is like when it comes to the Caribbean blacks or the African blacks, a lot of y'all, because I was having this conversation with a Muslim guy, and we were talking about Islam and all that other stuff. But I was having this conversation with a Muslim guy, and I was like, why don't immigrants take on a more, like, why don't y'all embrace the Second Amendment? And he just gave like a real, simple, I kind of answered the question myself, but he gave a real simple answer. He responded with a question. He was like, okay, if you were in another country that you weren't native to, he was like, would you? You know what I mean? Like example, if I was in the Arab Emirates, and they had a Second Amendment, would I take up the Second Amendment? When I already know how nothing is above an Arab Emirati, especially one from the royal family. Like, where or how are you going to legally defend yourself and shoot yourself, and they're going to take your side? That is uniquely an American situation. This is one of the things that the white nationalists, they don't like, how everybody else can come here and have rights, and how it's basically like an open door policy. Oh, you're American too, just because you took this miniature test and you can say the Pledge of Allegiance and your English is okay, you get to be an American citizen. They don't like that, because aside from the fact that the demographics are changing, and that's what they're fearful of, because the Hispanics are out reproducing them. And hell, every demographic, with the exception of Asians, is out reproducing them. So that's really what all this shit and deportation is really about. It ain't about shit else. It's about preserving white majority in this country. That's what it's about. You know what I mean? But I'm saying, and that attitude right there is a problem for FBAs. You know what I mean? When you have immigrant black people, they want to talk about empowerment, they want to talk about Pan-Africanism, but you ain't the type to bust a grape in a fruit fight. We get to the Second Amendment, whether it's Neferkari, or and not him personally, but just that camp, that ilk. Okay, aside from the illegal guns of Zoe Pound, real talk, how many Haitians that come here, how many of them are really embracing the Second Amendment? And how many of them are really the type that if they had to shoot a white man, they would? I put the white man in a Ku Klux Klan robe. How many of you all are going to shoot that white man down? Y'all won't, because y'all scared. Y'all scared. Y'all be riding the coattails of the legacy of 1804 in Haiti and whatnot. But seriously speaking, when y'all get here, y'all are some yes men, yes, when it comes to white folks. Y'all don't carry that racial animosity. With the history and the way that we when black people see white people do bullshit, we recognize the bullshit for what it is immediately. We recognize when it's racism immediately. We recognize the microaggressions immediately because we've been dealing with it every day for the past fucking 400 years as a fucking collective. We know them better than they know themselves. We know when they scared and all that other shit. Y'all motherfuckers just got here. And you constantly undermine us. Constantly. Either that or you think you're better than us. And I'm not going to let Neferkari, I'm not going to let Afro Think Tank, I'm not going to let any other African come over here and act like that y'all don't fucking undermine us and say your little slick shit and everything else. I don't care how many times you say, "Oh, that's anti-black. Oh, that's anti-black because you ain't holding arm in arm with us." I'm like, y'all don't fuck with us. You've made that known. The manosphere didn't start out we were Pan-Africanists, if anything. If you go back and listen to those older conversations, we were trying to figure out how to, sort out some economic empowerment shit. And okay, well, what are the Chinese doing? Oh, the Chinese, they come to America and then, they got all these factories in China and they can go back, which technically speaking is exploitation. You know what I mean? Because the people in China ain't making what the people in America are making, but the America Chinese, they open up the markets, but they are a higher class and a higher status than those Chinese people in China. And it's like, would FBAs be able to do something like that? FBAs struggle to even get the loans in America. They'll give it to an African before they'll give it to an African American. Right? They do shit like that. Then when it comes to, the idea of what are we going to do? Exploit Africans? Do like the Indians do and have a gas station and then get a bunch of Indians with some work visas or some Africans with some work visas and then have 5 of them crammed into, a fucking, 3-bedroom house and then have them have their little bicycles and ride to the gas station. The Indians that do have the Africans working at the fucking gas stations have them doing just that. You know what I'm saying? But my whole thing is just well, how do you facilitate capitalism at the same time without exploiting Africans? Because I'm not trying to exploit Africans. But the crazy thing is that when African Americans, when FBAs go over to Africa, you know what I mean? The Africans treat the FBAs like they're rich and then give the FBAs fuckboy prices in Africa. So it's well, shit, should we just exploit the Africans, when they come in? And then on top of that, are the Africans even going to work for FBAs? Whatever perception that they fucking have. It's not the same type of dynamic. We're not pioneers that came to the West and then established some shit that has, stood the test of time. And then when when Africans or Caribbean blacks come over, they immediately move into thriving black communities. No, those communities were destroyed. It would be a little bit different if Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma never got burnt down. And then when Haitians decided to come to America, it was where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Tulsa. You know what I mean? They went to Tulsa and then it was FBAs that were putting them on. There probably would be a different type of respect, in terms of the dynamics between FBAs and the black diaspora, if that's what was going on. You might get that in Atlanta at best. At best, Atlanta would probably be, that type of situation. The Nigerians essentially have taken over, Houston, from what I hear. You know what I mean? But yeah, the foreigners are not going to have a whole bunch of respect when they come to America and they see black Americans. They're already told when they get off the boat or the plane, oh, don't fuck with those FBAs. Be the good little model minority, black person. And we see you differently, which they don't. They don't. We see you differently. And then next thing you know, you always got some African person getting hemmed up or some shit like that. And they don't know why. They got some thick ass accent. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? They're just getting hemmed up. It's like, nah, they don't see you like that. There's like the people at the immigration office, they told you a lie. Them fucking Confederate flag having ass white folks, they don't give a fuck about the fact that you're not FBA and you're not quote unquote descendant of slaves. A nigga is a nigga is a nigga. That's how they see that shit. But all this, like, again, I keep having to say it to Neferkari. I'm like, you want to go and do your Pan-African thing as a Caribbean? You go do that. Take your ass to Africa. Go meet with the president in some African country. Talk about how you going to exchange resources and shit. I mean, it sounds to me like you need to be in the Haitian parliament or some shit like that instead of, talking about, like, I don't understand all this piggybacking off of what FBAs are doing and what they got going on when you don't fuck with us, you don't have any respect for us to begin with. I don't understand the shit. We have our own problems that are caused by the way that we were treated in this country and the economics that we have to go through in this country. Leave us the fuck alone. Like, seriously, leave us the fuck alone. We're trying to deal with our own problems. But then here comes the fucking Caribbean grifters. Here comes the African grifters. Have you noticed the channels that are calling out like white supremacy that are coming from all these Africans? That like, look, it's like I got like a love-hate relationship with those channels because they do understand what's going on. But I also recognize that you're doing it because it's a big discussion over here in the West, and you get a lot of Americans that'll watch the channel and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's a grift. It's a grift because real talk, nobody, including other Africans, give a fuck about what's going on in Africa. And that's something that the Africans, need to deal with. I'm like, why am I not getting African news? Why am I getting FBA news from Africans and I'm getting African news from Phil Scott? Why the fuck is that? Where are the Africans putting out African news about what's happening? You see what I'm saying? Like there's something going on there that's a problem. I'm getting FBA news from Africans and African news from FBAs, with Black diaspora news in particular. So, and he's probably got the one most successful Pan-Africanist show, that exists. And that is a positive move forward because it puts all of the black issues underneath one umbrella. You know what I mean? What's going on in Kenya? What's going on with their elections? What's going on with, some anti-black shit that's happening in, Africa or something, with some, some European poachers or that white man that tried to put the black man in a coffin, and shit like that, calling that shit out. Right. But at the same time, we still get, and Phil calls it out, we still get these snarky ass comments coming from Africans, coming from Caribbean blacks. We still get these snarky ass comments of these attitudes like, oh, we're better than them. And we're sitting there, we're like, yo, you're conditioned. You're not in a position to talk about who's better than who. You're just not in a position. Y'all haven't even fought for your shit, really, like FBAs have. Like say when people sit there, like I was watching some clip, another tether, Candace Owens. I was watching a clip of her talking about, black people in America, oh, they got it good. Black people in America fought for the shit. They fought for the shit. If you came here in fucking 1910, you wouldn't be saying, oh, y'all niggas got it good. They fought for the shit. And this is the type of shit that pisses that's the type of undermining that we're talking about. None of this shit was given to us. Black people had to fight for the shit. Black people had to tear this bitch up in the 1960s for white people to be like, God damn, we gotta make some goddamn concessions. We got to make some concessions because these niggas, in other words, yeah, if it's going to be uncomfortable for us, motherfucker, it's going to be uncomfortable for you. We will burn this bitch down. Why? It doesn't matter to us. It doesn't benefit us. We can't get proper housing. We can't get jobs. We can't provide for ourselves. We can't take for ourselves. Burn this bitch down. Make this bitch uncomfortable. People talk about, oh, the black people burned down their own community. No, they didn't. They didn't own anything. They didn't own those buildings and those businesses. Those businesses, 9 times out of 10, were owned by slumlords, both Jewish and non-Jewish. Friggin' James Baldwin has a whole article. You can go and look it up about Jewish slumlords because they were asking, because there was this bullshit that white people were trying to finesse. Oh, are you anti-Semitic? Malcolm X, are you anti-Semitic? You know, they were trying all type of bullshit, all that type of Fox News type of tactics that they do today. You know, so no, it's see all these Africans and all y'all Caribbean blacks, you come to America when it's comfortable. After FBA's done fought the good fight, after FBA's done had the dog sicked on them and the fire hose is sicked on them and wrongfully imprisoned and incarcerated and beat over the head with billy clubs, then you come into this motherfucker and then start talking shit about how, oh, y'all niggas got it good here. Nigga, we made it good. We made it better than what the fuck it was. You know what I'm saying? You didn't come here at the height of the bullshit. Not saying necessarily a lot of y'all could, because we had to get rid of the fucking the freaking what do you call it? It started with the Chinese Exclusion Act, but friggin' Africans and other Caribbeans were excluded until after the 1960s. And again, many of y'all didn't start showing up for another a decade or two. You didn't start coming to America until 1980s or 1990s. That's when y'all came in here. And by then, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the wrinkles, you know, had been smoothed out. A lot of the overt racism, you know, was done at that point. You know what I mean? But it wasn't the 1920s where you had the fucking Ku Klux Klan marching on Washington, D.C., and you had, you know, the highest membership that the Ku Klux Klan has ever had. No, you came when fucking Oprah was on TV having the Ku Klux Klan from Forsyth County, Georgia, you know, up there having discussions and panels, and they were getting booed by white audiences. That's when you came into America. You didn't come into America when they were riding around hanging people, and then there would be you know, they would get acquitted. You know what I mean? And there would be like a fucking, what was it called? It's a hung jury. They would just be acquitted and shit. You know what I mean? Where they would literally bomb a church, you know, with little black girls in it and get the fuck off. You didn't come when that was going down. You came later. You came after the fact. And then all y'all niggas do is sit up here and talk shit. We're intolerant for that shit. You can cry about your little Pan-Africanism and talk about, oh, y'all black people, y'all self-hating, y'all coos, y'all Uncle Toms, cause you won't let us in your little club. You won't let us in your little party. Nah. Bottom line, we ain't fucking with y'all until y'all got some skin in the game. Until y'all got some real skin in the game and y'all out there and y'all really fighting alongside by us when it comes to the shit and really standing up for us, which we haven't seen. You can't even really point some shit out. You gotta go all the way back to like some black Caribbean scholar who wrote a poem or some shit like that. You know what I mean? But you really can't point to people out there really in them streets. You really can't point to that shit. Getting fucked up by police and stuff like that. You know, out there really marching. You can't point to that. Y'all motherfuckers ain't been out because y'all are too busy being model minorities. We got PhDs. We got this, we got that. I got this FBA scholarship, even though I don't fuck with FBA's. Hell, I don't even see myself as black. I'm Somali, you know, like all type of bullshit that we see. I'm not really black. I'm Ethiopian. You know, all this crap that we see. You know, and then y'all talk, and then you'll come over and talk shit. Yes, the self-hatred is real. It just as the self-hatred in the Caribbean is real. Don't even get me started. Like you could say a lot of things about FBA women, and you could say, oh, that they're this, that, and the third, and that they hate themselves or whatever. But I'll tell you what FBA women are not doing. You want to talk about self-hatred? They're not bleaching their skin, looking like a bunch of fucking vampires and shit. You know what I'm saying? Not in mass. We got little Kim. We don't know what the fuck she was on. You know what I'm saying? But y'all over there is, you got fucking Sammy Sosa. You know what I mean? Looking like a vampire. Vampires in Brooklyn and shit. You know what I mean? You got that. I don't know who that Nigerian woman was. She was like a singer or artist or some shit like that. She done bleached her shit to high hell. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have that. You go in the Caribbean, they over there with the cake soap and rubbing shit on them. Like, what is that? You know what I mean? You looking at it, it's got hydroxychloroquine in it. You're like, what the hell is this shit? You know what I mean? Oh, it's good for your skin. It's good for your skin. You know what I mean? Like, and y'all want to sit there and you want to talk about FBAs and self-hatred and colorism? Get the fuck out of here. You go to the Caribbean. Hell, they had Neferkari just did a video on some Haitian politician. You see how white looking that motherfucker was? Y'all over there still voting for white politicians. I'm like, how you got a 99% black country and yet all your leaders, all the rich people, all the high class people in Haiti that speak actual French, you know what I'm saying? They speak like damn near the Parisian French, okay? All of them are damn near white or these super high yellow, people. And that's the Caribbean over. When you look at the politicians in the government, they are watered down black people as fuck. I'm like, what was the whole point of having a slave revolt? And y'all gonna put a whole bunch of high yellow motherfuckers as your leadership. Y'all still are worshiping white people and white skinned or lighter skin in your own Caribbean fucking countries. You're still doing that shit. And you see the same thing with some of the African countries where they'll sit there, a white man will come through, do a little bit for the community, and all of a sudden they want to make him an honorary chief. Like, what the fuck? After all the damage these motherfuckers have done? I'm looking at the politicians right now in Haiti. The Haitians that come to America don't even look like the fucking Haitians that are the elected officials in Haiti. And Haitians want to sit up here and talk about, who's colorist and self-hating and shit like that. And y'all got high yellow, light skin, fucking politicians in Haiti and whatnot. I already know that bottom line, the Pan-Africanist conversation does not go anywhere. It does not go anywhere because at the end of the day, if you're not dealing with It's two things. It's two things before you can get started on any move that you're trying to make. You got to get black men gainfully employed, young black men gainfully employed, and you got to deal with, the interpersonal dynamics between black men and black women. Feminism is a fucking problem. The ideas that the women have in their head, the matriarchy, the men are supposed to operate in service to us. We're going to use the white zaddy state. That's another thing that y'all, completely overlook. You know what I mean? Y'all don't have robust welfare systems in your state. You don't have women where they can say, fuck a man, I can go and rely on the government and shit. You don't have that. That's the downside of being in a predominantly white country. And maybe the black people in the UK, they recognize what FBA black men are talking about because they go through the same thing, the housing and everything. And the man, the woman has the resources. The next thing you know, she running around talking shit like, I got it. I'm the family. I'm the rock. I'm the foundation. This, that, and third. It doesn't matter what the background of the black woman is, whether she's FBA, whether she's Nigerian descent and freaking moved to the UK and whatnot. Once the government puts those resources on the table, those extra tribal resources, that's what women do. That's what women do. I don't need no man. I don't have to listen to you. I don't this, that, and the third, da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna see your son, da-da-da-da. All that shit. And then next thing you know, shit starts crumbling. The community dynamics start crumbling. And it's like, I don't know. When it comes to that, I don't know who to address. because you're not going to alpha your way through that. You're not going to strong arm your way, through or twist a woman's arm to what? To get her to conform, to get her to comply. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to strong arm your way through. First off, I don't even want to have to do that. You know what I mean? If you're dealing with black women that ain't getting with the patriarchy, just stop the bus right now. You can't get to Pan-Africanism. You know what I mean? And Neferkara will probably say, "Oh, well, we're going to leave them behind. We're going to leave them behind." Okay, you can argue you're going to leave them behind. You're going to leave a lot of them behind, especially particularly in the West. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to be a Pan-Africanist, if you're going to go and you're going to, if you're a Caribbean black or you're African and you want to say we don't have those problems because we're not dealing with extra tribal resources, then again, by all means, go do that. I'm not getting in your way. But again, the irritating part is the way that y'all, you don't know the history of what FBAs have gone through, and even some of the black people in the fucking in the UK in terms of the interpersonal relationships, and you don't put respect on what FBAs have done and established. And then you come over here, and then you somehow my security cameras are you talk all this shit, but my security cameras are always catching your hand in the fucking cookie jar. What are you doing in the cookie jar? Why is your hand in our cookie jar? Stay your ass over there in the islands. Stay your ass over there in Africa and deal with your own problems. Why are you in our hair? I do not understand that. And it's like Neferkari tries to take every opportunity to sit there and constantly talk about Pan-Africanism and put it, talk about all these FBAs and the Pan-African FBA versus Pan-Africanism. No, the only time FBAs are talking about tethers is when tethers is saying some slick shit. It's the only time we talk about y'all. We identified the problem. We said, man, again, all this shit, all this stuff with the election cycle, black people talking about reparations in America and everywhere, every time we look up, it's like, yo, why? Every time we see this black person up there, and we like, yo, where's this person from? Like, we don't even talk like that. Where's this person from? What's their background? Oh, boom, the bitch is Haitian. Oh, boom, the bitch is Congolese. Oh, boom, the dude is Nigerian. Oh, boom, the dude is some South African. We're like, yo, where the fuck are these people coming from? You know what I mean? We don't even talk like that. Like this, like the fight that African Americans have been fighting for. This has been a long time coming. And as close as we get to, the conversations about reparations, because again, with the advent of AI and people studying the history and looking at this shit like, nah, motherfucker, like y'all did all of this shit to the black. It's not just slavery. It's slavery and Jim Crow. It's slavery and the policies that you put in place to undermine black wealth. I'm like, oh no, y'all definitely. And then out of nowhere, there's some fucking Caribbean black person or some African black person talking about, I am not a victim. I am not a victim. We do not need reparations. Nigga, we? Where the fuck did you come from with that thick ass fucking accent? I am not a victim. You know what I mean? They come on talking that bullshit. Motherfucker, we didn't, as I was watching a video, I like how he said it. He was like, motherfucker, we've been victimized for fucking 400 years. You know what I mean? Like he was like, if I'm not supposed to have a victim's mentality, what am I supposed to have, an assailant mentality? When have we ever been in a position to be the assailants? You know what I'm saying? But you always get these tether, coon ass, Uncle Tom, Uncle Ruckus, Caribbean black people who really have no social status, and they want a pat on the head from white people. It's a form of elevation. This is a sickness with black people. It's a sickness where you get these tethered black people that are always looking for white validation. They're always looking for acceptance. They're always looking to be elevated. And it's really bad with them because they feel so inferior about their fucking homelands. and the poverty that they see in their homelands and the way that their homelands are depicted every time we see fucking Haiti. You know what I mean? Haiti is just fucked up. What is the nice part of Haiti? Show me the nice part of Haiti, because I ain't never seen it. I ain't never seen it. Y'all motherfuckers still recovering from the fucking earthquakes. You're still recovering from the goddamn earthquakes. And when the fuck was the earthquakes? Like 2014? When was the fucking earthquakes? You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I recognize that Haiti has been fucked over with the having to pay reparations to fucking France for lost slaves and being blackballed. You're on an island and you're blackballed. You can't trade with nobody. You know what I'm saying? Because America wasn't going to trade with Haiti, right? There's a bunch of freaking letters that went to the United States where like Haiti was trying to have relations with the United States. The United States was like, nope. They were like, hell no, we can't have you as a shining example of a successful slave revolt. Hell no, you'll be inspiring niggas here. They was like, fuck that. And some Haitians escaped to, New Orleans and, because it was French speaking and shit like that. Like, I mean, there's a lot of shit that goes on, a lot of unspoken history that they damn sure don't teach you in school. You know what I mean? But no, we're not just going to look past. We're not going to look past, the undermining that y'all black diaspora folks do. We're not. We're not just going to sit there and close our eyes and pretend like we're besties and that y'all don't do subversive shit. We're not going to do that. Y'all been, and the thing is, it's not just some random niggas doing subversive shit. That's one thing. It's like, man, fuck that motherfucker standing outside the bodega. We don't care about that as much as we care about those that take these high positions, those that take positions in the White House, those that take political positions, and then go up there and then, serve the interest of everything but the FBA black community. And not only that, they cosplay. They go up there, you know what I mean? They'll sit there and they won't own up to their lineage. Like, hey man, what's your background? Hey man, I was kind of, my family been here since, such and such a time and da 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 da. And it's like, okay, well, one of your parents is like mixed or something, and the other parent is like from the islands or some shit like that. That shit matters. Just like when people are running around talking about it matters whether you got a black mom or a white mom or if you're mixed and your level of coon, or whether, you were solely raised by your white side versus solely raised by your black side. That shit makes a motherfucking difference. And if you got immigrant parents, it makes a difference. Now, let me acknowledge the fact that we have the first generation, both Africans and Caribbean blacks, that they already know what time it is. They know what time it is. And they're like, yo, I have arguments with my parents about this shit. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I know what it is. I know how y'all are treated. I know how they'll mistake me for one of y'all. Shit. You know what I mean? I've been treated that way. I've been spread eagle on the ground. You know what I mean? I've been having, cops for, is there any guns or paraphernalia in the vehicle? Like, what is this? Is this a basic traffic stop? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Just all type of bullshit. I know black folks in the diaspora who are first generation, maybe even second generation. They know what time it is. And they're like, yo, my parents, my grandparents, they out of their fucking mind. They out of their fucking mind. It's a self-hate. You want to talk about self-hatred. Talk about a Caribbean black person growing their fucking hair out, letting their hair be nappy and put it in some black hairstyle. Y'all don't even like your own fucking hair. Fucking the black moms be sitting there. Their son comes home. They Caribbean son comes home and shaves his dreads off, or shaves his twist off, or whatever. And the mother, oh, thank Jesus, thank God. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking self-hating. I mean, if anybody, I've seen it. I've witnessed it. Y'all can't tell me shit because I've been in the motherfucking Caribbean. Y'all niggas can't tell me shit. The self-hatred is fucking real. So I will not tolerate any black person coming on and trying to act like, oh, we more conscious over here. Bullshit. You Y'all have not had a black empowerment movement, nothing. You know, and I mean, the white worshiping is crazy. You know, and this is something that black people collectively across the board. I don't think anybody's exempt from this, but I'll be damned if somebody's going to come online and act like, oh, our group ain't on that shit, but y'all group is on bullshit. Bullshit. Everywhere you fucking see it. It's just it's to varying degrees. You know, but hold on a second. The FBA movement has nothing to do with the manosphere and vice versa. The FBA movement, you know, was something that, you know, Tariq Nasheed came off with, and Yvette Carnell was talking about ADOS. You know, I wasn't even paying attention at the origins, you know, of that shit. I was focused on the interpersonal relationships. And as I said, and as Kevin Samuels repeated what I said, the family unit is the fundamental unit of any given community. If you have interpersonal relationship problems, you're done. You're done. You know, you have to have a strong family unit to talk about having, you know, a strong community. So the interpersonal relationships, just like with the money's just as important as in the hands of black men. The interpersonal relationship problems are they're paramount. They're paramount. And unfortunately, as of right now, with, again, all the, you know, the feminism I see and all the, you know, we're not going to submit. We not doing this. We not doing that. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, even just conceptually, even if the black man's in the appropriate position. No. I mean, Six the Goddess just did a video yesterday. And again, Six the Goddess will always have my respect because she's telling the young women what they need to hear, what the older women from previous generations in the black community, in the FBA community did not tell. They did not own up to their errors. They did not own up to their mistakes. They just blamed it on black men and said that's all that there is to it. And Six is putting in the work and she's calling out the bullshit. And that panel that she was doing a review of with them two black women up there with their blonde pixie cuts, you know what I mean? And talking about being a single mother and all the deflective shit. She addressed the hell out of it. She addressed the hell out of them responding to, the guy used a clip that she had, and then the women, they got all type of butt hurt. And she was like, nah, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. And these women were trying to find, the shit that they were trying to justify, baby showers without the being married, and the man, you being married, you could still end up being a single mom. It's like, bitch, but you started out the right way, saying that, hey, I got married, it didn't work out, blah 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 blah. That's one thing, but at least you tried to start out the right way. You know what I'm saying? Like freaking, and then people they always try to bring up the interracial, shit. People fail, their marriages fail within the group all the time. White people are the dominant members of society, and they have failed marriages, independent of anything else. Sometimes that happens. You know what I mean? But again, you'd still want to have a critical mass of married people. The majority of white people at least try to start out being married. And yes, they have the resources to do so. So those two things go hand in hand, which is why I'm big on those two things. The interpersonal relationships of black men and black women, and the fucking money in the hands of black men. Because black women ain't going to submit or get with anybody's program if you can't, keep a roof over their head. That's not going to happen. And I don't expect it to happen. And I'm not arguing it for it to happen. Men have to have fucking money. Period. I don't care how much the feminists want to talk until they blue in the face. At the end of the day, most of them are trying to date hypergamously. But people want to sit there. I can't stand. You guys are like the fucking Ishmael on the Titanic. When can we get underway, damn it? Motherfucker, I said 5 compartments, man. That's 5 compartments. What about the pumps? The pumps only buy you time. You know what I'm saying? This ship can't sink. She's made of iron, sir. I can assure you she can and she will. It is a mathematical certainty. Y'all just want to skip past certain shit. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with fucking Gone with the Wind. Was it Gone with the Wind? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like when they were talking to Rhett Butler. You know, I mean, it's like, what do you think? You know, and he was like, there's not a cannon factory in the whole South. There's not a cannon factory in the whole South. I think it's hard. What does he say? I think it's hard winning a war with words, gentlemen. I think it's hard winning a war with words. There's not a cannon factory in the whole South. And they were like, well, what does that mean, to a gentleman? It means a great many things to a great many gentlemen, sir. Are you saying the Yankees can lick us? I'm saying very plainly, they've got factories, shipyards, and boats that can bottle up our harbors and starve us to death. All we have is cotton slaves and arrogance. And then you have freaking Apollo 13, another one of my favorite scenes. You know what I'm saying? 45 hours, that only gets us to here. You know what I mean? And then freaking John raises his hand. He was like, hey, we gotta bring him down to 12 amps. He was like, 12 amps? You can't run a vacuum cleaner on 12 amps, John. We got to bring him down to 12 amps. Without power is everything. Without power, they can't communicate with us. They can't change their trajectory. They can't turn around their heat shields. We got to bring him down to 12 amps. And he was like, is that what you believe, John? He's like, yeah. He's like, I've been looking at the data for an hour. You know what I mean? And Gene sat there and he thought about it for a fucking second. He was like, all right, I want you guys to run scenarios, run tests. I want you to squeeze every ounce of fucking power that you can out of those batteries. You know what I'm saying? And those scenes are so important because, I don't want to sit there and say that's exactly how white men think. You know what I mean? But these are movies that were made by white men. And you see how they get to they get to what the problem is. You see what I'm saying? Now, granted, I talk about how MAGA misdiagnoses the problem because they got fucking, they've let the conspiracy theories in the white community run them amok. But there's competent people in positions of power in the white community that's how they deal with problems. Okay, when you start talking about the military, when you start talking about the space program, they don't fuck around. But in the black community, if you put black, especially Caribbean black people in Apollo 13, they would have been like 45 hours. Gene would have been like 45 hours only gets us to here. And then you would have had fucking some black religious person jump up and be like, well, I guess now we pray. We pray for Almighty Jesus to come and save us, save our space shuttle from the disastrous effects of the atmosphere. In God we pray. That's literally what would happen. That's literally, y'all would start praying to white Jesus in hopes and get the astronauts, back and shit. You know what I mean? The Titanic, y'all would have been some praying motherfuckers. You know what I mean? And it's like, you wouldn't have evacuated to get them, everybody to the lifeboats. Like, no, it's sinking. It's going to sink. It's 5 compartments. The ship was designed for only water to go over the first 4 bulkheads, not 5. This ship is going to sink. You see? And just that magical mentality is just pervasive, in the black world. It's pervasive. It's like, look, man, I'm trying to tell you there's no gas in the tank. You're like, when can we get underway, damn it? When can we move forward with this Pan-African? You can't. You don't have gas in the tank. We have interpersonal problems. Now, again, if you just want to talk about the Caribbean, if you just want to talk about, Africa and how you all are getting along, despite the fact that, we constantly see, black men of the diaspora who are not gainfully employed. You know what I mean? And they're always constantly accused of fucking not taking care of their kids and shit like that. Like, if you want to move forward with that, then I'm like, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. People just want to skip to like revolutionary mode. And I'm like, you're not in a position. You're not even remotely prepared, to go up against anything. You got too much fucking corruption. You know what I mean? You got too much of an uneducated populace. They don't critically think. They're heavily reliant on white Jesus. What do you think? You think a group of black people who worship white Jesus are going to go up against white people who have the face of white Jesus? There's too much of a mental barrier there. There's too much of a conflict in their mind. You know, like it's disgusting. That's why you saw them when Queen Elizabeth died. People were showing the videos of their Caribbean parents actually crying because Queen Elizabeth died. Queen Elizabeth died. The matriarch monarch, of fucking, the British Empire, which has shed so much blood on planet Earth, it's not even funny. And you're over there shedding a fucking tear, talking about, just all dramatic and shit. And us as FBAs, we're supposed to look at Caribbean blacks or African blacks as some sort of inspiration, and y'all over there crying because Queen Elizabeth died? Queen Elizabeth, your oppressor, your colonizer, died, and y'all sitting there crying? Crying? You know what I'm saying? Did you see FBAs crying when Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck? Did you see us crying? Did you see, oh my God? No, we don't do that. We don't do that. Hell, we get on the asses of these black parents when their son gets gunned down by police officers. We get on the asses of these black parents that get up on the fucking the news talking about I forgive and I forget. I already told my mother, I was like, if I ever get gunned down by police, if you go up on the news talking about I forgive and I will fucking haunt you. I will haunt the fuck out of you. If I get gunned down by police, you better say, freaking, I hate them and I will curse their name until the day that I die and meet up with my son. That's what you better say. You better not go up there talking about I forgive and I forget, and he was a good boy. And you better not. You know what I'm saying? I will be jumping out your motherfucking closet and shit. I'll be flickering the lights. I'll be flickering the fuck out of them lights and shit like that. I'll be haunting your ass. I'll be throwing dishes out of the fucking cabinets and shit on some poltergeist shit. You better not. You better not. Oh, just this shit just be killing me. It just be killing me. But anyway, I got a fucking late night tonight, so I gotta fucking get ready. But yeah, I can't stand that. I just can't stand the intellectual dishonesty when it comes to this conversation about FBAs versus the diaspora and just him just making shit out. Oh, and they jumped over to this faction and jumped over to that. No, it's separate factions. The Manosphere was originally that was exclusively white. There was no black manosphere. The manosphere was operated and run by white guys. Primarily, when I came online, it was Paul Elam. It was Paul Elam, and it was people like Barbarossa. And Barbarossa, I think he's got like a Latino background. And then Thug Titian tried to, he didn't like the fact that what were we talking about? We didn't like the fact that we were bringing up black issues because I was the main one saying like, hey man, like the problems that we have with black women are directly the result of the system of white supremacy and the way that we've been marginalized and whatnot. Fucking with our money so that we have dysfunctional relationships with our women, and then they want to sit up there and then sit there and not talk about that. And I called Paul Elam out about that. And he was going to do a video. I remember the day. He was going to do a video talking about the black men in the whole manosphere space, right? Because it was the manosphere. It was because it wasn't even called the manosphere. There was only two movements back then. It was the MRA movement, men's right activism, which is what Paul Elam was a part of. And then there was MGTOW, which is men going their own way. Both of those were acronyms, primarily for white men. And Thug Titian tried to ingratiate himself in that space. And I said, nah, it's going to be a problem. Oh, y'all always bringing up the black stuff. Y'all always bringing up this, and it's really about, he thought it was a universal thing because, yes, both races of men are affected by the court systems. Both races of men are affected by child support and child custody and the way that men are mistreated in the courts. Both men are affected by that. That's factual information. Okay, white guys can go to court and get their ass fucking, took, just like black men can go to the court and get their ass took. Which is, white men have substantially more resources to lawyer up and fight the process and all that other bullshit. But again, the primary issue that black men have with black women is a lack of gainful employment. It starts there. And then all the other problems exacerbate and how they view you and everything else. But it starts there. And when we tried to address that problem, and I told Thug Titian, I told him, I was like, nah, as soon as you start bringing up the shit, they're going to be like, hey man, why you bringing up all the black shit? Da, da, da. They ain't trying to hear that shit. They don't give a fuck about that shit. They want you to have a colorblind, sort of, manosphere view. And I'm like, no, our problems directly come from the system of white supremacy. Black people didn't make up feminism. Black people did not economically disenfranchise themselves or marginalize themselves. That's your doing. We wouldn't have a lot of the problems that we had if we weren't marginalized in this society. That whatever shit you got going on with white women and whatever concessions you made with white women, that's the shit that y'all did. But unfortunately, our black women adopted a lot of that shit. And then on top of that, you have the problem of, the economic viability of black men. And then, again, the things that affect both of us, which is the deindustrialization of America. So again, I'll say it for the umpteenth time. Patriarchy does not work without gainfully employed men. I don't care how you want to dice it up. You can sprinkle all the white Jesus you want to sprinkle on it. You can sprinkle all the Allah that you want to sprinkle on it. It does not work. Men need to be gainfully employed, period. Not only to feel invested in the society, but their authority is meaningless. They have ineffective leadership, ineffective fatherhood without being gainfully employed. It does not work. So guys want to beat around the bush, and then go to warp speed, to fucking, to go to warp speed to, Pan-Africanism. It's bonkers to me. And the same thing applies. I remember, when it came to like folks dealing with students, like when it comes to black boys, they always want to deal with the small children. Oh, we're doing manhood training, for those in the, first through like the fourth grade. They think that, we took them to the zoo and we're doing manhood. This is not manhood training. I call it bottlenecking. Bottlenecking is when, or like, I shouldn't even say bottlenecking. They want to deal, like if you picture a bottle, right? You got the fat end of the bottle, the base of the bottle, like a Coca-Cola bottle, or even just like a straight glass bottle, right? You just got like a wine bottle. So you got a bottle and then it pinches off and it bottlenecks at the end where the cap is, right? Or where the cork is. The base end is where all your little black boys are. That's the easy part. Take them to the zoo. We're going to give a manhood training program. First off, they're boys. They're children. They think that they're going to give them some sort of guidance at fucking 6 or 7 years old that's going to translate to them actually developing into men when they're 16, 17, and 18 years old. No, that's not where the problem is. The problem is when they're 16 and 17 and 18 years old. Because they're going to now they're interested in girls. They're going to want things. They're going to want to have a car. They're going to want to have fucking material wealth, the fly clothes, the Jordans, all that other shit. That's important to a young man. You know what I'm saying? To look, like he's he's clean and shit. That's what girls care about. To look like he has a few things, right? A few things that signify status. Right? That he has a vehicle, things like that. I know for you New Yorkers, y'all are like, having a car, that's crazy. You can't even find parking. The rest of the country is not built like New York. Okay, the rest of the country, there's plenty of parking space and whatnot. There's no parking meters. Okay, so in the States, that's what's important to young men. And the thing is nobody. Not only you have people who are terrified of those young men, but they don't want to deal with the reality that the hardest thing to do is actually create economic opportunities for those young men. They got nothing for those young men, and the only thing that's really there are the streets. Motherfuckers out there talking about, hey, if you push this fentanyl, you know what I'm saying, I can get you those Jordans. I can get you that whip. You know what I mean? I can get you those clothes. I can get you that apartment. You know what I mean? Which all directly ties back to being able to have access to women. Because women are going to gravitate towards who? The men that have a little something, something. That's who they're going to gravitate towards, unless they're just a full-blown matriarch and want to find some man that's just cripplingly dependent on them. But outside of that, no, they're going to focus on the men that got a little something, something going on. Oh, he got a nice car, girl. You know what I mean? Back in the day, it was if you had an Infiniti G37 or what was it, G37, right? If you had an Infiniti G37, or was it the G36? Anyway, I can't remember. But if you had that, oh, nigga, nigga, please. Nigga, please. You know what I mean? I remember the dudes riding around. They had the Lexus GS3, what was it, 300 or 3000 or whatever the fuck it was. Oh, that was a beautiful car back in the day. You know what I mean? Or get you a nice little used fucking 7 Series BMW, which them motherfuckers really didn't hold their value like that. I like the one with I think it was like the 2006, fucking BMW 7, was it 7 Series? BMW 7 Series. Yeah, fucking 2006 with the little like hatchback, humpback. That had a nice behind to the vehicle. Like, you know what I mean? That's what young men want. And they weren't paying attention to that. They were like, oh, we're taking boys to the zoo. We're taking them to the zoo. I'm like, that ain't doing nothing. And I realize, I'm like, y'all really ain't serious about the shit. You wanna focus on the non-problem zone. You're bitching about what population are you bitching about running around with guns, right? You're bitching about the 12 to fucking 18-year-olds. That's what you're bitching about. Okay, so why don't you focus on that population? Why don't you focus on the teenagers? The teenagers that are becoming sexually active. They're interested in women. They don't have a child's motivations. They don't care about the G.I. Joe action figure kit that you got them. They're not satisfied with that. They want money. They want nice clothes. They want jewelry. They want cars. You know what I mean? They want the things that are going to get them the access to the women that they want in their community. You know what I mean? And nobody wants to fucking talk about that. The only person I've heard that flipped on that was older was when Captain Solo was telling me about his uncle. And his uncle, because his one of his relatives, was selling drugs, and Cap's uncle, he snapped at the shit. He was, at other family members. He was like, of course these young men are out here. Like, what young man doesn't want fucking money in his pocket? There ain't no goddamn opportunities out here for him. Of course they're going to be out here in these motherfuckers. His uncle snapped at the shit. Like saying like everybody acting like they didn't understand why the young men at the time in the fucking 80s, why they were out there in the streets, selling drugs and flipping crack rock and everything else. He's like, what young man doesn't want a fucking money and shit? And this is, again, fucking, you had a recession in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Detroit was on the decline. Like the way that the black community neglects black boys, I almost look at the black community the same way I look at, the system of white supremacy. When they want to complain about, 13th, I'm like, no, America has the black men it deserves. And quiet as it's kept, the black community has the black men that it deserves. You know what I'm saying? It has the black men that it deserves. Because black boys are not prioritized in the black community. Especially in the FBA community. It might be in the Caribbean. Y'all might have a little bit better going on in the Caribbean or in Africa. But in the FBA community, it is a matriarchy. It is a matriarchy. Black boys are not prioritized. It's you go girl, black girl magic, black girl power, all this other shit. But yet the ones that are destroying the community are the boys because they're the most capable to do so. And it's like, why don't we steer them in the proper direction with the proper resources? And people, they'll talk about everything that pertains to young black men except for the fucking money. They'll talk about everything, behavioral modification programs and we're going to do mentorships and everything else like that. Everything short of actually having this young black man cash, a $1,500 check. Everything fucking short of that. I'm just throwing out $1,500. You know what I'm saying? Everything short of him cashing a fucking check that he's like, oh, damn. Oh, shit. You mean I got money now? Shit. That means you can do things now. You can open an LLC. You can start a business. You can invest in this. You can purchase a home. You can renovate those 5 abandoned homes in your community on the block and shit like that. Hell, you can pool your money with 5 other brothers and just buy up the block and shit like, yeah, you can do that now. You know what I'm saying? It just pisses me off the way that people sit there and they accuse people of, oh, you're not doing because you just want, no, they can't. They don't have the resources to do it. You live in a capitalist society. Motherfuckers acting like you can do shit without fucking money. Fuck out of here. And then they want to replace it with Jesus. They want to replace it with God. It's fucking annoying. And then they wonder why you end up with young black YNs running around terrorizing the community and shit, having their little wars with each other. They don't have anything constructive to do. And unfortunately, yeah, even if you're making money doing shit, illegally, there's some brothers that'll take the money and they'll try to, get out the game and flip it some other way. I know guys that have done that. I knew guys, that came out of the burbs that paid their way through fucking college because they didn't have the financial support from their family to do it. And they literally sold marijuana in college and paid their college tuition with the drugs that they sold while they were in college. So, some people take it and do some positive shit with it. But the problem is you always got to be looking over your shoulder. That shit could have you caught up. You could be the one positive dude. You could be, renovating houses in the neighborhood and everything. And, somebody runs up on you one day, you shoot back, they get killed. You know what I mean? Then because you had drugs and they hit you up with distribution, now you doing, 15 years for, what do they call it? Not only possession of narcotics, but also intent to distribute. Right now you get hit with that. And now your projects, the houses that you were fixing up and shit that you got, single moms renting out of or whatever. Now that's imploded. Now that's gone. It's just the shit is fucked up. And the thing is all this was made of black pathology in America. And now you see the white boys going through it. Now you see the college graduates have a higher unemployment rate than the national average. And that's white folks. That's white men. They have a higher unemployment rate than those that didn't go to college. No, the system is fucked up. And then prior to that, black men had the, again, last to get hired, first to get fired, the job discrimination. Again, if white men are trying to maintain power, why, if they got a white man in front of them that has a family and they got a black man in front of them that has a family, if white men are trying to maintain power, it's not about who's the best candidate. It's simply about, I'm only going to give that black guy a job if I absolutely fucking have to. But generally, as a rule, I'm going to give it to my own people every fucking time. Which is why in the private sector is disproportionately and overwhelmingly white, where black people previously were working for, the state governments, state and local governments, and the federal government. And y'all want to talk about, oh, we're going to skip to Pan-Africanism. Nigga, do you not hear what the fuck I just said? Did you not hear all of the fucking here right now in our face problems that we got to deal with? And you want to talk? What do you want me to do? Just throw my fist up in the air and say, "Oh, solidarity with Pan-Africanism," even though the Africans and the Caribbean blacks come over here and fucking undermine the little bit of ground that we're trying to gain here right now? And y'all want to sit there and talk about what's going on in Burkina Faso. Look, I wish him the motherfucking best. But we got shit we got to deal with over here. We're not in any position. I mean, think about it. If black women are saying, y'all niggas can't do nothing for me, right? Then what the fuck do you think that same population of men can do for the black diaspora? Nothing. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all motherfuckers bringing up this Pan-Africanist shit at the wrong time, at the wrong moment. All we can do is support you spiritually, in spirit, especially with this current administration, in spirit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are getting a firsthand education on how white America really fucking feels about you and saying that you come from shithole country. Shit that we've been trying to tell y'all. You know what I mean? Oh, freaking talking about Liberia. Liberia, which is a country that the United States fucking helped create. And you got the president of the United States, Donald Trump, sitting up there talking about your English is good. Where did you learn your English from? Again, a half-assed attempt of repatriating Africans back to the fucking continent of Africa. But again, they didn't want to pay for the shit. They could have sent, what was it? I think there was like 4 million African Americans, maybe anywhere from 4 to 10 million African Americans in America, at the end of slavery, somewhere in there. You know what I mean? And they could have sent all them back to Africa if they really wanted. But again, white men still wanted their cheap labor, just like what they're doing with the Mexicans now, with the Hispanics now. They got this love-hate relationship. We don't want them here because we want to maintain our power and dominance and majority, but we also love cheap labor. So we want to send some of them back, but no, wait, that's not a good idea. Wait, that's affecting our bottom line. No, we want cheap labor. Oh shit, what do? I don't know. We don't want them here, but we do. But we don't. What we do? What we don't. Right? That's what you see with the fucking bipolar disorder with the Trump administration and the Latino. Oh, it's affecting the farmers. Oh, we need them here. No, but we want to maintain white majority. They're having too many kids. Oh, well, what do we do? I don't know. How do we keep it up? It's fucking retarded. Because they got pure dumbasses, at the helm. And my hope was that it would wake a bunch of white people up. I see white people waking up online. I see them like, oh yeah, racism cost you. It cost you like a motherfucker by putting dumbasses in fucking power. It cost you. Oh, it's affecting you? Good. I'm glad it's affecting you. I'm glad that you're seeing, what time it is. But even with that, is that going to make these white people wake up and be like, oh my God, we need to treat black people better. Black people, you were so right. You were so right in your assessment about, what America has become. Are they gonna wake up and fucking stop doing the shit that they're? No, probably not. Probably not. They just want to get it back to a level where they can maintain their white middle class lifestyles, which again, that's probably over with because again, the West position in the world was predicated off of the extraction and exploitation, rape, pillage, and plunder of the global South. And now that they can no longer do that, they got to come up with a new financial model, a new financial system. This is why capitalism is dying, because capitalism requires fucking cheap labor. That's what it requires so that you can maximize profits. Unless they're going to go to a resource-based economy, universal, that has aspects of universal basic income. But again, the rich don't want that because that would be the elimination of the rich. Because how would the rich be able to justify their position? They can only justify their position with, I worked harder than you and therefore I deserve a greater reward. That's the basis of it. And you could be here one day too if you work hard enough. That's the basis of how they keep capitalism going. You see, but the problem is they've broken all of the social contracts. And then on top of that, you throw in the robots and AI, and they don't, how do you incorporate in that and then justify paying people enough to even fucking live? Then once people recognize that they're not even making enough to fucking live, they start looking at alternatives and other things. And then eventually it gets to a point where it's fucking revolution and heads on sticks. That's what it turns into. Because again, survival does not wait for assimilation. It does not wait for acceptance. It does not wait for a new system. Again, and this is what went on with, the Italians when they came to America and they were being discriminated against and they engaged in illegal activity. This is what went on with black men. They were getting discriminated against and they started engaging in illegal activity. And again, you're going to see a comeback of the white boy Ricks. You're going to see a comeback of the what's that YouTube channel, The Connect? You're going to see more of that. You're going to see more of that. You're going to see more. You're going to see some of the biggest drug rings busted, and you're going to see a bunch of white faces at the top of that pyramid. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see houses in the suburbs with the fucking feds kicking in the door. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. You know what I mean? Just like that ring that they had in with all the cosmetic makeup from the smash and grab. They were like, oh, the black kids, they're smashing and grabbing. Oh, black fatigue. And then come to find out it was a bunch of white people in the suburbs that were the ringleaders of that shit. It was a wife and a husband. The wife was really the ringleader. You know what I mean? They were getting the black kids to go in there and smash and grab all the cosmetic shit, bring it to the house. They had the shit piled up in the fucking house, and then they were reselling it on Amazon. And the feds came in there, get on the ground, get on the ground. Shit's fucked up. And if I sound pessimistic, I am pessimistic. Because right now I fully recognize ain't no gas in the tank. You might have a little bit of hope with, AI tools and black people being able to use the AI tools to come up with freaking apps and shit like that. And, maybe possibly a handful sell to Google or some of these bigger companies, man. But, that model of the mom and pop shop or major industries and manufacturing and everything else like that, people have no idea how dead that shit is. All of that is in Southeast Asia. You still need it, but it's all in Southeast Asia. And it ain't coming back to America. It's not coming back. This idea that some big giant factory is going to open up, unless they're making robots, you know what I'm saying, and highly skilled, and it's like iRobot or some shit like that. No, and again, all that's going to do is put more people out of work. We are at an inflection point, and people don't realize it. People are still talking old school Pan-Africanism. We gonna march in the street, fucking if black people just come together. No, like in other words. Like we were playing the game of Monopoly, and in the middle of playing the game of Monopoly, now we're playing the game of life. Y'all remember the game of life with the wheel and shit like that? And you're spinning it up, right? Remember the game of life, right? And I like the game of life because the game of life had like some topography to it, if I recall right? But there was Monopoly, and then there was the game of life. Like right now, we're playing the game of life. We're not playing Monopoly anymore, and people are still trying to. We're going to tackle the system through Monopoly. And I'm like, we're not even playing Monopoly anymore. We're playing the game of life. That's what we're playing right now. And people don't realize that. But I'm not here for the Pan-Africanist conversation. I'm not against the Pan-Africanist. Y'all do what y'all do in your own spaces with other Pan-Africanists. I don't know why you need FBAs to be a part of that. We're not. We got our own problems. We got shit going on here. Okay? Again, if you really wanted to, be in the good graces of FBA, y'all should have never undermined us. All you black diaspora people, y'all should have never came over here on some coon shit. We already got enough Uncle Ruckuses we got to deal with. We already got enough of those. But the way that y'all just came over here and undermined us, you know what I mean, and saying shit like we just sitting there looking at the screen like, is this nigga for real?
Nah. Y'all. You can't be trusted. You lost our trust. You cannot be trusted, and you have to earn it back. You're not just going to get it back because you came in the room and you say, "Hey, brother, we need to be Pan-Africanists." You know what I'm saying? You need to work with your own people. That's what you need to do. You need to work with your own people. No. No, it's not that. It's not that easy. Because all skin folk ain't kinfolk, as we like to say, or all kinfolk ain't, no, all skin folk ain't kinfolk, as we like to say. You know what I mean? All skin folk ain't kinfolk. And that's just the truth. That's the truth. Y'all got a whole bunch of tribal stuff going, just dumb, goofy tribal stuff. That's why Africa was able to be picked apart the way that it was. Tribal as fuck. You know, oh, I'm from this tribe. I'm from that tribe. They do not give a fuck about what flavor of black you are. I'm Haitian. I'm from Dominica. I'm from Turks and Caicos. I'm from the Bahamas. I'm from the Barbados. And you know what white people say? You know what they see? Niggas. And I'm saying that's reinforced by Neferkari's whole video talking about where the Charlie Kirk assassination and them trying to break up white people into different. Oh, those was the Democrats. Oh, those was the Mormons. Those was that was the woke left. You know, all this. No. I like how Neferkari says it. He got killed by his own people. He got killed by his own people. Yeah, he got killed by his own people. That was white on white violence all fucking day. You know, but the Pan-Africanists, like, it's funny because they, like, white people view black people in an almost Pan-Africanist fashion. But when it comes to black people's behavior, there is no Pan-Africanism. It's a nice concept. It's something that you could throw on a t-shirt, but there really is no true, Pan-Africanism. You know what I mean? Fucking, you got these African leaders. Show me where these African leaders are forming ties and taking pictures with Caribbean leaders. Show me where any of the Africans have come to America and said, "I want to speak with, the whatever pro-black movement exists in America." They haven't done that. No, they want to be friends with the white power structure of the United States. They want to be friends with the white power structure in the UK. That's who they want to be friends with. You see? Because they recognize that FBAs don't have anything to offer. Right? At best, we might be able to help facilitate the opening markets up, in the United States if products were manufactured in Africa and then imported to the United States. At best, where the margins would be there. But again, where is the infrastructure of the manufacturing process, in Africa for anything? For anything. What do you think? You're going to see a TSMC in fucking Africa? You think they're going to be making microchips in Africa anytime soon? You know what I'm saying? Like y'all like just got into the fucking making cement bricks game. You don't even manufacture your own weapons. You know what I mean? You don't have no bullet farms in Africa that are run, owned, operated, and controlled by black people. You don't have any you're not getting the raw materials. You're not going and digging up the lead from the lead mines, then digging up the copper from the copper mines in Africa, then bringing it to a facility, smelting it down, freaking putting the copper and mixing it with tin in order to come up with brass, and then shaping the copper cases into with multiple steps and multiple different layers, stretching out the case, annealing the cases, taking the freaking the lead bullets and then covering it in a copper jacket, right? And then freaking, doing the whole process. Y'all ain't doing that. You don't even have the machines to make the machines. That was something that somebody pointed out a long time ago, that you need the machines to make the machines, because the pieces, the little pieces are small and intricate and everything else. Like, even if you have let's say you have a fucking umbrella. You have to have the machines that make the springs in the umbrella in order for the umbrella to open up properly. You know what I mean? That's a whole process of raw materials going into it's a whole fucking process. And most of African manufacturing is still craftsmanship. It's still done by hand. It's not done by an assembly line. It's not done by machines with the machines, being monitored by, one African technician. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then on top of that, then you got the whole aspect of what Chica Oyanyani addressed in Capitalist Nigger when he was talking about the fact that when any of these machines break, y'all got to go and get a freaking expert European to come into Africa to fucking fix the goddamn thing. Once the machines go down, this was the whole issue with the Nigerian refineries. Once the refineries go down, that, like, again, he said it right in the book. They don't know where to find the oil. They don't know how to fucking extract the oil. They don't know how to refine the oil and then sell it, abroad. Only recently has Nigeria taken control of it. But when he wrote the book, this was a major problem. All these companies were European countries that were coming in there, and the oil would be sent to freaking Europe, refined, and then sold back to the Africans, even though the oil came right out of their own soil because they didn't have the facilities to refine the fucking oil. That's just retarded. That's just retarded. You know what I mean? And then you got Africans running around feeling good about themselves, smelling themselves, because they over there, with a golden toilet seat. You know what I mean? Or they're over there, focusing on how many churches they can build as opposed to how many universities they can build. Got churches all over the place. Every time somebody gets shot in Africa, it's always in a church. You ever notice that shit? It ain't never in a university. It's always in a fucking church. Boko Haram went in, shot up some people. Here we go in the church. Not in a university. They don't have mass shootings in universities because they got way more churches than universities. I had the same problem, in the Caribbean. You know what I mean? In the way that they waste their time, 6 hours on a Sunday giving worship and praise and doing that every Sunday for their entire fucking life. Do you know how much production, how much like the production to time ratio, whatever you want to call it, that you're fucking losing by spending all that time? I'm not saying that you got to lose your faith and all that other shit, but you know what I'm saying? 2 hours, wrap it the fuck up and let's be productive. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't need no goddamn 6 hours or whatever the fuck it is to give. That shit, they had the shit rolling into the afternoon. And the stupid thing is all it is an extraction process. You got some fucking pastor up there in a fucking suit. We give praise to Jesus. And it just, they used to kill me because these people were so poor. They were so fucking poor. They didn't have shit. If they had cars, they were rundown cars. They were hand-me-downs from fucking Japan. That's where they were getting their vehicles from. They get their vehicles directly from fucking Japan because they're like the most reliable and most maintained because the Japanese maintain their shit. So they go over there and whatever the exchange rate, is better because obviously they couldn't buy used vehicles for the United States or whatever. So they order them online, get it from Japan. They get shit in. They pay the fucking, the fees. That's another thing that cripples the Caribbean countries because anytime they import, first off, motherfucker, what are you doing having fucking imports on goods when you don't manufacture anything? It's not like you're preserving or protecting some sort of massive manufacturing industry in the fucking islands when you don't produce anything. So then they got these exorbitant fucking tariffs when goods come into the fucking country instead of allowing people to have these products, so that they can I don't know, the guy wants to start a company. He needs like 8 computers and shit like that. He's got to pay tariff on each one of those fucking computers. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is where is that money going? Because you damn sure don't see it in the fucking infrastructure. You damn sure don't see it in the infrastructure. And if you ever been to places that are like fucking tax havens and shit like that, you know how they make their money? right? The billionaires that live in those places, they basically, anything that's needed, the government's like, yo, hurricane hit, we need a new road or something like that. The billionaires are like fucking done, right? They're like done. They don't tax the billionaires, but when the government needs something, the billionaires come up because then the government threatens to take away their citizenship. And I've seen that happen once before when there was a hurricane and they needed money for something. And then the freaking government was like, hey, yo, we're not going to ask again. Y'all need to come up with the money. Otherwise, we're going to start having to audit some shit. And they was like, oh, I mean, the money was there like the next day. All of a sudden, just the motherfuckers just, and it's amazing how they do that. Like, who even decides how much they give? Like, motherfuckers just start writing $5 million checks. But that's how they get down. You know, it's very, there's an aspect of corruption there that most Americans really can't comprehend. They do not comprehend just how powerful wealthy people are outside of America. They really don't, they cannot comprehend that. And, you know, I mean, the way that they literally own people. They literally own people, and they can get you off, and they can get you killed. And even if they get caught, like nothing's going to happen to them because they'll just pay everybody off because the people in those countries are so fucking poor. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what are you going to do? You got 5 kids and you were a fucking police officer and somebody offers you $20,000 to take a fucking walk. What are you going to do? You know how far $20,000 will go in some of these countries? US? It's fucked up, man. It's just fucked up. FBAs don't need to be a part of the conversation. We have our own problems. The only reason you're getting brought up is because you want to come into the space, you want to lie on us, you want to gaslight, you want to fucking what's the word that I'm looking for? You know, just be subversive and shit like that. And I'm not saying that Neferkari is doing that. What I'm saying is Neferkari needs to stop having the motherfucking cape on, you know, for the shit that's going on. He's like a black woman that wants to make every argument about colorism when it's like, look, we got real problems. And then you got to pull out the videos and you got to pull out the women actually saying things coming out of their own mouth that are foul. But before, he recognizes like, oh, damn, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. I mean, we got plenty of videos of tethers speaking out against FBAs and acting like they're better. Oh, we do this and we come to America and we're successful and we're this. Some of you are. And again, these people a lot of times are coming from backgrounds and coming from families where they're already the elites in their own country. Neferkari is an elite from his own country. From what I hear from, with the whole back and forth between him and Dennis, you know what I mean? He comes from a prominent family. They got businesses and all other type of shit. He ain't no fucking Dusty. You know what I mean? So again, you get these people that they have some level of privilege when they come up in this bitch. You know what I mean? They're not the rank and file from their own country. You know what I mean? They are a part of the corrupt governments in their own country. They're a part of the leadership in their own country. They're a part of the nepotism in their own country. They're a part of the generals that won the coup in their own country. And they come to America. And then on top of that, again, they don't have the constant daily attacks that Black Americans grow up with in this country dealing with the system of white supremacy. They don't have that. Oh, this video's long enough. And I know I have to fucking get ready. I wanted to fucking go to the gym early so I could get that out the way, but fuck it. I don't know, I already wasted enough time. That's all I got for y'all. That's my videos. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. I'm going to finish eating my food. I know y'all hate when I'm making videos and I'm eating, but right on time. A video just came up in my timeline of Burkina Faso is denying citizenship for the Black diaspora. I don't know what, I guess that's anybody who just decides that they want to come up in there and from other countries. And the channel that I was watching, the woman was saying, oh, this is bad news. And I said, no, it's not. No, it's not. See, this is the problem with the Pan-Africanists, argument, right? Burkina Faso, like what I'm saying about FBAs, Burkina Faso is looking out for its own interests. I mean, how many attempts on his life has he had, right? And then you got, the General Langley, United States military, being, sent, as the, or not sent, but, speaking on the whole situation as a black man, right? Notice they get the black man to do it. Oh, we're going to make the black man, we don't meant the black man to be in charge of anything else in America. But when it comes to undermining, governments in Africa, we're going to make the black man in charge, and, why are they doing that? They're doing that because they think they can use a black face to, again, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. They think they can use a black face to infiltrate the country because all the French people, have been booted out. And, obviously a freaking white man in the middle of the Sahel is easily identifiable. But see, if you get an FBA to go over there, if you get some sort of Caribbean coonish black to go over there and then undermine the government of Burkina Faso, see, that might work. And so Burkina Faso is playing it safe, and they're like, nope, sorry, you can't come. We're dealing with our own problems, and we're dealing with the neocolonialism, of France, and, their constant undermining, of, our government, or their attempts to facilitate coups within the country. That's what they're dealing with. But as a FBA, you don't see me having any. I don't have any objections, to the fact that they're protecting themselves. I'm not jumping up and down going, oh, how come this doesn't support Pan-Africanism? We're all brothers and sisters and we all need to. No, Burkina Faso has a unique situation and unique problems, and they need to, deal with that however they see fit. I as an African American, I as an FBA, I have no what do you want to call it? I have no business meddling in their affairs. And again, given the fact that we are a part of this white supremacist nation, I don't blame them for not trusting us at all. Really? You gonna bring an FBA in there? You don't know whether you're dealing with an agent, a coon, or Uncle Tom, the Hodge twins. You don't know what you're dealing with. So this further reinforces my point of Burkina Faso. Oh, where's all that Pan-Africanism? Yeah, Pan-Africanism in spirit, but hey, we got security issues over here. We're not just gonna open the gates to diaspora citizenship, and then some of them people are paid off by the system of white supremacy to go in there and try to undermine or assassinate, members of the government so that France can get its uranium for pennies on the dollar. No, they're doing the right thing. Point blank, period. But that further reinforces my point of everything that I said. Anyway, I'm gonna end off. That's my video, SWP. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.
On the scene, diamond blingy whole screen. Check a boy Louis V. I'm so fresh and so clean. Stuff them bands in my jeans, slap them 30s in them things. Pull the trigger, let it sing. Then go smoke a Russian cream.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hello?
Where
Where we at? Oh, you want to know where I'm at? We outside!